President, we are calling for a job-seeking allowance in South Africa.
Corruption, weak economic growth, inequality, and the everyday struggles faced by millions of South Africans have once again brought the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa under sharp public scrutiny. This time, two civic organizations, StandUpSA and Enough is Enough, have taken a bold step by openly calling for the president to resign. Their demand, made during a mass protest in Tshwane, echoes a growing sense of frustration among ordinary citizens who feel that the promises of the new dawn under Ramaphosa's presidency have not been fulfilled. Many people who once saw him as a reformer now believe he has become a symbol of stagnation and indecision, as the country continues to grapple with corruption, poverty, and unemployment on a massive scale. To fully understand the weight of this moment, it's important to look back at how South Africa reached this point. When Cyril Ramaphosa took office in 2018 after Jacob Zuma's scandal-filled administration, there was widespread hope that he would clean up government, restore investor confidence, and rebuild public trust. He spoke of a new dawn, pledging to end state capture, root out corruption, and revive the economy. His calm, measured leadership style initially won him support from many sectors, including business leaders and civil society. But 7 years later, those high hopes have largely faded. Unemployment remains staggeringly high, with youth unemployment above 45%. Power cuts, now routine, have crippled industries and small businesses. Inflation has eaten into household budgets, and corruption scandals, even if less dramatic than during Zuma's era, continue to taint public institutions. The civic organizations leading the latest protests argue that Ramaphosa's presidency has become more about survival than transformation. They accuse him of surrounding himself with the same political elite who have failed to deliver on key reforms. South Africans see headlines about commissions of inquiry and task forces, yet very few tangible results follow. Communities across the country are battling rising food prices, poor service delivery, and joblessness. Many feel abandoned, as politicians seem more focused on internal party battles than the nation's well-being. The disappointment is not just political. It's deeply emotional. People are tired of waiting. They're tired of promises that never materialize. Yet, it's important to note that not everyone agrees with the demand for Ramaphosa's resignation. Some analysts argue that removing him now could worsen instability, especially ahead of future elections. They point out that South Africa's problems, like corruption and inequality, run deeper than any single leader. The system itself, they say, is burdened by bureaucracy, patronage networks, and economic structures that still disadvantage the majority. In their view, replacing Ramaphosa might not fix these long-standing issues, but could instead open the door to more political chaos within the ANC and the government. Others believe that while he has failed to deliver radical change, his departure could lead to a leadership vacuum, giving rise to factions even less committed to reform. The protests in Tshwane, however, reflect something much larger than one man's leadership. They reflect the growing voice of civic activism in South Africa, ordinary people demanding accountability and change from those in power. Movements like StandUpSA and Enough is Enough represent a shift away from traditional political structures. Their message is that South Africans can no longer depend solely on politicians to rescue them. They must organize, mobilize, and apply pressure themselves. It's a new wave of activism that recalls the spirit of the struggle years. But this time, the fight is against corruption, inefficiency, and political complacency rather than apartheid. Still, the question remains, is Ramaphosa truly the problem, or is he simply a symptom of a much wider disease in the political system? His defenders claim he inherited a government that was hollowed out by years of state capture and mismanagement. They argue that rebuilding such a broken system takes time, and that some progress has indeed been made, such as strengthening the National Prosecuting Authority and reviving certain state-owned enterprises. Critics, on the other hand, say that these are small steps that fail to address the magnitude of crisis. They accuse him of being too cautious, too unwilling to confront corrupt elements within his own party, and too disconnected from the daily pain of the people he governs. Public confidence in leadership continues to decline, with many citizens losing faith not just in Ramaphosa, but in the entire political establishment. The sense of hopelessness is visible in rising immigration rates, protests over service delivery, and declining voter turnout. The country's social fabric feels increasingly strained. The middle class is shrinking, inequality is widening, and the poor are becoming poorer. South Africa's economy, once the powerhouse of the continent, is now struggling to grow at even 2% a year. Investors remain uncertain, electricity problems persist, and small businesses face endless obstacles. In such a context, the call for Ramaphosa's resignation is not just about politics. It's a cry for a different kind of leadership altogether, one that can inspire real change rather than manage decline. If Ramaphosa were to step down, what would come next? Some suggest that Deputy President Paul Mashatile could take over temporarily, but that might only deepen divisions within the ANC. Others believe it could open space for opposition parties to form new coalitions, potentially reshaping South African politics entirely. Whatever happens, the decision carries heavy implications for the country's stability and direction. International observers, too, are watching closely as South Africa remains a key player in African diplomacy and global trade. What's clear is that South Africans are running out of patience. The gap between government rhetoric and lived reality has become too wide to ignore. People want leaders who can deliver jobs, safety, reliable services, and dignity, not just speeches and promises. Whether Ramaphosa resigns or stays on, the message from the streets is unmistakable. The people want accountability, and they want it now. In the end, this is not only a question about one president's future, but about the future of South Africa itself. Can the country move beyond its political fatigue to embrace genuine renewal, or will it remain trapped in cycles of protest and disappointment? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The voice of the people is growing louder, and it cannot be silenced. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share your thoughts on whether President Ramaphosa should step down, and tell us what kind of leadership South Africa truly needs right now. Like the video, share it with others, and let's keep the discussion alive in the comments section below.